Hello, everybody. Welcome to our live Triple S League coverage of the Paradox Interactive Showcase that's taking place in about half an hour. Plus, right now on the screen, we've got the Media Indie Exchange, which is a showcase of indie games that's been happening for about the past hour and a half, and it is continuing now. And as far as we know, this will go right up to where the Paradox one ends. It's possible there might be some overlap. They're technically two different events, but they're kind of coordinating with each other. So anyway, we will find out, but we've got some interesting indie games to talk about and possibly a couple of other unique news stories here in the pre-show. So welcome to everybody who's listening live. I've got Saib and Moontag with me as always. So how's the show? How has the show been so far?
There's been a lot of really dry. We were just talking about it. So one of the videos before the one that's playing right now was being voiced by just a guy who had absolutely no
intonation, inflection.
It was one of the worst audios I've ever heard.
Yeah,
still about or trying to get people amped up about his only his most important piece of work to date in his life, essentially. And he's like, so yeah, you might want to check this out. It's a pretty good game. We've been trying to find ways to make it really interesting. It's like, oh lordy,
that's too bad. Well, I mean, and you know what, a guy who's coding a game, so not necessarily a best showman, but yeah, that's unfortunate when it doesn't get the the sort of fanfare it deserves. It's your life's work. You want to sound a little excited, but some people, I mean, they get really nervous. They get
a lot of
people. You put a microphone in front of them, they just freeze up, man. It's yeah.
So this is the indie showcase, and a lot of these things have they're single developers, right? Like there is not very much money behind a lot of these studios. Now, some of them are a little bit bigger, and so one of the big announcements, which seemed to have been one of the more anticipated ones, appears to be Hello Neighbor 2. So Hello Neighbor 1, some people might remember that game. Hello Neighbor 2 is bigger, better. It has a very, very interesting AI system that reacts on what you do and how you move around and what you do. It is very, very interesting. And the characters from Hello Neighbor 1 are making a bit of a comeback in an interesting way. And it's seriously a very, very, very interesting game by the looks of it on the outset. And then there's a couple other ones that were really interesting. There's this one game called Tandem. What was the full name of it? It was Tandem something. Tandem Shadows or Tandem?
Oh, Tandem: A Tale of Shadows.
Yeah, Tandem: A Tale of Shadows. So in this game, you have two perspectives. So you have a top-down perspective of one character who is on the bottom layer of the world. Then on the upper layer of the world, she's the light source. So your bottom layer character is the light source. She's holding a lamp or something that creates shadows. On the upper level, so the one that's closer to you, you have a side-scrolling perspective. And both of these maps move in tandem. And by casting shadows with the bottom character, you create pathways, open doors, and allow the shadow that is a shadow of the character's teddy bear to move around on the upper layer.
Wow.
So if you have a light source next to a pillar and you're on the bottom side of the pillar, it's casting a shadow straight up. And your teddy bear can't move past that because it's like a wall. But if you move that character over and around to the side, creating a shadow that goes to the left and downward, you create a ramp for the character.
So the teddy bear can only move on shadows. Is that how?
Not just on shadows, on other things that you move up to the higher level. So in one thing, she grabs a slime and she pulls the slime over to this vent. The vent blows the slime up, and now that's taking part of the platformer that you're playing in that side of the game.
Okay, that sounds awesome. By the way, on the screen
Yeah,
right now,
it
we've
is
got
very,
this
very
Kiwi.
interesting.
We've got this Kiwi game
They're
that
so adorable.
we've seen this before, and this is the
Mhm.
most bizarre concept for a game I think I've ever seen. But anyway, no, that sounds really cool. I'll have to remember that one because that sounds fantastic. Honestly,
There was speaking of beautiful and adorable bird games, there is a new skateboard game which features a sparrow trying to learn how to skateboard. Uh, it's
Oh
so
my
adorable because she can flap her wings in the middle of like moves and stuff and try to like keep the board up a little bit longer. But when she falls over, it looks so precious. It's really cute.
that's
So
awesome. By the way,
yeah.
that reminds me of Skate or Die, which, for some odd reason, I guess just because skateboarding,
gosh.
but also which also reminds me of other like 80s and 90s video games. And I saw yesterday, this doesn't really count as an indie game, I guess, but there's an old school Ninja Turtles retro style combat game coming that's like the old Ninja Turtles arcade games. And it's it's 90s Ninja Turtles making a comeback. Like they've got the old theme song, they've got the old style, the old characters, the old character styles. It looks fantastic. There was another one that I saw just as I was getting the stream set up. It's called Tower Princess, and I didn't hear any of the commentary on it because I had it muted, but it looked like a cell shaded sort of Zelda concept where you're a knight, and it looked like you're going through a tower, solving puzzles, fighting enemies, doing things. It's 3D. Did you guys catch much info about that one? Because that one looked interesting.
Probably not because I think we were transitioning at that phase. So I didn't really whatever was the last like game or two right before the transition. I didn't really pay attention
okay.
to. There, a lot of these they look interesting. They look kind of like they're smaller games, and these smaller games we've said before. These smaller games are potentially the next big games in the industry.
Honestly, I
Because
would.
these are what create the new ideas that feed things, and it wasn't so long ago that Among Us was one of these type indie games that not very many people were paying attention to it. So
I think there's a shift
when
coming because I mean,
yeah,
AAA has burned us so many times over the past few years, and honestly, I would love to have a channel devoted to just like every week putting out a video featuring a new indie game that we think is excellent and that we think people should try. I would love to do that. I'd love to have that being, a good chunk of our content. Unfortunately, it just hasn't been feasible up to this point. We've done some indie game coverage and they just don't get views, but that might be changing. We'll see, but I love the indie games. I love
I did see one of the games that was showcased made an announcement that it's coming to Stadia first, and I'm like, why is it coming to Stadia first? But then I realized, this is one of the games that was bought out by Stadia early on for its quote unquote first release. And right now, I just kind of smile at that because we know that that studio has had they've had all their bills paid for the next like 2 years of development, so
yes.
that's kind of good. Of course,
You can definitely
be a little bit of a delay in us getting it everywhere else, but yeah. It's basically just kind of like an open alpha, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the other thing we've seen is an absolute enormous amount of card games or like games that have card. What?
There's a lot of like mobile platform friendly type games where it's like, why are you guys putting this out on a PC?
Yeah, there's an enormous amount of card games where it's like it's some kind of a battler, but they all utilize cards and deck cards, and you got to build your deck in an interesting way, and I love it because everybody says the exact same thing. It's like, this is an interesting game that utilizes a never before seen take on the card battler system, and I'm like, I've heard this from the last 5 bloody games on here. Like, I can't tell you how many times this morning I've seen, build your unique and interesting deck with things like guard, attack, Shield Wall, and it's like that's the same cards that I've seen on the same last 5 of these damn games. So I don't know, maybe it's just me being cynical, but I kind of really don't like these card battlers because it seems that everybody is doing them right now, and there doesn't seem to be any actual unique takes on it. It's all just the same stuff. It's just like, get this card that makes your character a little bit more powerful here or there or whatever.
I just want one of those that actually has a fair playing field when you're getting paired up against people who have pumped money, actually pumped tons of money into it.
Well, I don't know how many of these were microtransaction mobile based. I seem to think that there wasn't too many of them that are. So, I mean, I guess there's at least that.
Like,
so.
honestly, like, you look at, like, when I play chess online, at least I know the guy is not going to pull some secret piece out of his back pocket that he paid for, like the Super Queen.
Oh, you didn't hear about the Super Queen?
No.
Oh man, the Super Queen.
I didn't hear about the Super Queen.
Brand new game mode offered by so many new studios.
By
it's
Chess Incorporated, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like if one of these card games could come out where maybe you could pay for cosmetic, like pay for cool card backs or make your cards all sparkly and shiny, but if the base game is the same and you actually are on a fair playing field against people, I'd be more interested in it. It just got horribly frustrating playing. I played Hearthstone for a while, and then I played, what was that other one? Anyway, one of those other ones. I really enjoyed it, but you'd be in game for 10 minutes, you'd be in a round, and you'd be doing okay, you'd be about evenly matched, and then they bring out their last, unblockable 10 damage card, and you're at like 9 health, and bam, like just those that just got frustrating as all heck. Now this is unfortunate. Like this is unfortunate. The quality of this particular video that we're watching right now, the frame rate is terrible. Like some of these, and these are pre-recorded too, and so I don't get this. I don't get how they are allowing this poor production quality.
It might be. Well, this is an indie studio produced by, I believe the studio is based in Africa. So I wouldn't like they're working with technology and mechanics that are not smooth, and then they're having to like ship that footage.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that's forgivable. But the very first one I saw when I tuned in right when this started, Paparazzi. I couldn't tell you anything about that game because the background noise from the person's webcam, who was the developer who I guess was playing the game, it was horrible. It was like someone was running a vacuum cleaner in the background.
Yeah.
It's really unfortunate that it's just a little bit of extra help could have helped some of these presentations be way better. But anyway, there's been it is cool to see what some of these
like I said, there's been a litany of issues on this showcase with very small studios. So you have to remember that again, these are a lot of cases. These are micro studios with less than less than 3 people working in them typically. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. There were a lot of people in the comments who were somehow confusing this, not our comments in the Twitch comments, that were confusing the Paradox stream with this stream from the Indie Exchange. First of all, they're on completely different channels, so I don't know how you make that mistake. But they're like boo Paradox, and I'm like, has any of these people seen the Paradox name in any of these things yet? Because this isn't Paradox, so no. This isn't Paradox. These are small developers who in most cases are self-publishing as well, so they don't even have a publisher behind them. So that's
true, and I think it got a little confusing in how it was marketed because it's kind of part of the same event but also different, and some articles were it was like it took me a minute to figure out, okay, what's on what channel at what time. But yeah, this is not the Paradox event, just to be clear, if anyone's tuning in. It's this is the Media Indie Exchange showing off some very, very indie titles, and I don't know what this guy is talking about, but something about a mask, I guess. Something about his mask. Actually, I'm just gonna turn up the volume here for a quick sec.
Kind of a good time for indie game development. We've all been through.
Okay. Just doing some kind of a vlog kind of a thing. All right, so tell us in the live chat what you've seen here from the mix stream that has that's interested you. Again, like I said, that Tower Princess game looks interesting to me because it looked kind of like a Zelda-like 3D game, but also sort of a cell-shaded style. But it looked like it had some good, adventure combat mechanics, that kind of a thing. Yeah, the guy with the mask hanging off his ear, that did look kind of ridiculous. He was holding his own phone. It's not like, first of all, he didn't have the mask over his mouth, so what was the point of having it on at all? It's not like what are you doing?
To make it more dirty when you put it back on. I have to people with your mask things. Like, I saw a politician in one of those like C-SPAN type things. It wasn't. I don't know if it was American or what, but I saw like a highlight reel. Guy took his mask off, sneezed into his hands, then put his mask back on, then shook somebody's hand. It's like,
people don't.
That is not proper. Like,
we need some education on how germs work, I think.
Need some education for brains, apparently. Anyways, so yeah, it's just kind of funny. It's kind of funny. At this point, everybody's sick of the masks anyway. So
we're all sick of masks. We'll have to endure them for a little while. Yeah.
So tomorrow there's more. They were just showcasing there. There is more content coming tomorrow. There's going to be the mix showcase in the morning. And then 2 other things. I wonder what Bit Summit is. I have no idea what that is.
That's one of their events tomorrow.
And then the post show today. So here is the Paradox one. This is the Paradox one starting up. We should change over to the Paradox channel.
All right, I'll do that right away. We still got a few minutes.
I think this is just an intro because it's about 12 minutes out. But we'll switch over to them.
Yeah. So Zach2102 says, well, there was that weird Undertale-like title. What was it?
There was
She
an
Dreams Elsewhere or something?
Yeah. Its animations weren't as smooth as Undertale's, I think. I just might be remembering Undertale with rose-colored glasses. This is what tends to happen when you're talking or when you're looking at games that
she is not social distancing. Busted. Sorry, go ahead.
So when you're thinking about pixel games, you're remembering what in the past, and you're remembering it very much with a kind of like a rose-colored glasses kind of ideal, right? So sometimes it's like you remember. It's funny because I remember like original Mario, like Mario 1, and I remember it so much more smooth and so much more like so many more pixels to it than what was actually there. And then when you play it or when you go back to it or when you look at a picture of it, you're like, wow, that's so low res. And it's because you remember things smoother and better. I remember playing, like, I think it was Neverwinter Nights 1, where I was like, oh, this is so lifelike graphics. And then I totally forgot that they had like sectional body pieces. And I went back to it and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. They had this weird like thing in the elbow that didn't quite like.
Yeah, you don't remember that. You remember the essence of it, but not the technical jank that was there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I will. I'll bring
turn
this
down
off.
the thing.
So I'll bring this off the screen. I'm going to switch over to the other channel for the Paradox Interactive. But yeah, was there anything else in news you wanted to talk about before this starts up here?
So in Roblox apparently has become one of the biggest things in gaming in the entire universe. I think they got I think we received a message from Alpha Centauri via one of the NASA listening satellites, and it was like, please update more Roblox games. So I mean, it's shocking how much that game has just taken over. Because again, it's nothing that you really hear unless you're like in that culture, obviously. So yeah, there's a cool story about how some Roblox uh, guys, devs, paid off their parents' mortgages by making just by working with Roblox.
So yeah, the Roblox just went public, and its market cap, they are worth more than the entire company of EA.
Now
you can believe
that is expected to drop a little bit. So when a new company kind of goes public, typically in most scenarios, typically it goes public, the buy-in is a little higher, and then it settles downward a little bit. But again, you're not buying into these companies that are going public for the first time if you're wanting to flip the stock within a week or two. You're typically buying into it so you can settle in for a long haul of several years of investment. And then at some point in the future, you pull your money out of that. This is we've talked about stocks quite a bit from time to time, but this is one of the typical things that you would do in gaming studios, is that you invest for a long haul, and then you sit on that investment for 5 to 10 years, somewhere in between there typically, and then at some point you pull out your stock, which does make the company stock drop, but you're investing in it for, say, like a retirement fundee, and most of those retirement fundees are going to be withdrawing their money in 5 years, so you don't want to be holding on to that for 10 years, because you kind of want a goal of what you're investing in. So you're hoping that it matures at a good point within a certain amount of time. And that's what happened with CDPR. They invested in it when it was worth a tenth of what it was worth just after Cyberpunk dropped. They sold off all their shares, and then they so then they've reinvested some of it into other things and whatnot. So it's like, this is very common stuff. This is very normalized like stuff. So it's interesting to note. But still, yeah, like, wow, Roblox, who knew? $30 billion. $30 billion is what their cap hit.
Yes, it's insane. It's insane. It was like just behind it was. Because I think they knocked EA out of second place or something like that.
Yeah, and good for them. EA needs to be knocked down a little bit.
They deserve to be knocked down a peg. All right, there's still nothing happening on the Paradox Interactive Twitch channel, so I'm guessing they're going to be starting up right at the hour.
Yeah.
But,
so Outriders, a game that we've been playing around with a little bit. Its demo is out right now. We're playing around with it a little bit, and it seems that this game might be coming to Xbox Game Pass, which is interesting. Yeah, which is really interesting. We didn't expect that. So that is, I don't like it when they sneak these titles on, because it's like, if you already have Game Pass, you might not be, and you bought it on PC because you were expecting to play it, exclusively on PC, but then it turns out that you had it free on Xbox. I don't know if some people might be annoyed with that, or what. So that's just something that heads up. If you didn't mind playing it on Xbox, you have Xbox Game Pass. It does appear, no promises here, but it does appear as if there is a chance that it might be showing up on Game Pass.
Interesting.
Whether that shows up immediately or after release, we don't quite know yet. But it still is kind of interesting to see that. So again, kind of a little bit of a rumor. It ended up on a what they kind of mentioned as a mysterious signal. So how that works out. I don't know. This does showcase, if this is true. Excuse me. If this is true, this is very interesting because this is a Square Enix title, and Square Enix just goes to show that perhaps if this is true, that Square Enix is getting a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more closer to Microsoft. So
it's based on this. It's based on this email
Mm-hmm.
that references a mysterious signal. So yeah, so nothing confirmed on that, but yes, I could see where they would think that might be the case. Yeah.
Again, kind of a new story. Just came out a couple hours ago. Interesting to note. Again, this is why I typically encourage people not to pre-order games, but yeah.
Yes, this and among many other reasons.
Mm-hmm.
All right, still nothing on the Paradox Twitch channel. Unless I need to, it should start automatically. I'll just reload it to make sure here.
Click on the name.
Click
on the name directly. Yeah, it'll bring you to like their live thing.
Oh wait, what?
Looks like they're hosting. Yeah, it's weird. I was wondering what was going on with that because I had like both pages open.
Why would it not automatically just open that? It's like
I don't know.
It's like Twitch. You do one thing. You do live streams, and when the channel is live, it should show up. All right, here we go. So this is the same thing we were seeing on the Mix Twitch channel, but here we go on Paradox Interactive, and I'll make it full screen so our heads won't be blocking the stream once it actually starts. But yeah, I'll make it full screen there. Let's see. Anything else? You'd sent me this story, Saib, about scientists continue troubleshooting a 2,000-year-old computer.
Yeah, so that's
what is this? And how do they know it's supposed to be a computer when it looks like that?
How is this the first time you're seeing this thing?
No, I've seen it before, but it was a long time ago.
Okay, yeah. So this is the oldest computer known to exist. It's a computer that's run off of gears and switches. So it's sort of like a clock, but you can get this, like, that's the same way that they built the very first, like the first computer of the last century was a series of gears. And then they moved from there upwards to vacuum tubes and electrics and stuff like that after progressing in that for a while. So yeah, this is just that they've finally been able to establish now, by creating 3D models, they've finally been able to figure out how this thing tracked planetary positions and essentially gave them the readout of their location on the planet. So you just basically, you go out, you look at the stars, you do some calculations, you type in your calculations that you use with in combination with the sextant or something like that, and it basically punches out where your location is, and then you take that and you're able to then travel the seas, because they didn't have lights, they didn't have GPS, obviously. They didn't have.
How do you know?
Most cases they didn't even have lighthouses. So as soon as it went dark, you had no idea where you were. And so this was an early computer that was theorized to be able to tell them to calculate their position on the planet, which is amazingly difficult to do. So
it is very difficult.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like, we have this idea that ancient people were so primitive and dumb. No, they were ridiculously smart.
All right, here we go.
All right, going to the full screen.
So I've talked about how Paradox has really been, they've really been increasing their production value over the last few years. Stellaris is a great game. Crusader Kings, Mafia, all these games are really, really amazing and are frankly pretty awesome as far as like what they're doing to the industry within these niche games, and they really have been a niche studio up to this point.
And what
So-
an exciting lineup of games, news, and fun we got for you. It's fantastic to be back.
It is definitely fantastic. And hello, everyone.
My name is Paula, and I'm the event manager at Paradox Interactive, here to host this grand celebration of all things Paradox. And we're doing this as part of the Game Dev Direct together with our friends at The Mix. Over the next hour, you're going to hear news about your favorite games and learn a couple of surprises too.
Well,
So these guys are also the ones who are publishing Vampire
Joining me here
Masquerade.
is my good friend Troy,
So
our
we're
community manager for
hoping
Crusader Kings and Emperor
to hear
Rome.
something
Hello, everyone.
Welcome
about
to
it,
Insider
but
and
we
Paradox.
we
It's
we
definitely
may not
good to
hear
be
that
here, that's
update,
for
but
sure.
that is definitely one of
And
the things
as
we're
long
hoping
as
for.
we're celebrating, happy birthday.
And happy birthday to you, too.
It's such a completely strange coincidence finding out that we share the same birthday and it's on the day of this Paradox Insider.
Yeah, it really is.
Looks like we're working
I
for
hope they
birthdays
don't
this
use
year.
their
We are, but I
birthday
really
as a
couldn't ask for a
password.
better partner to work with
Yeah.
on this. It's actually kind of poetic that I'm here with you here at Paradox Insider. And PDXCon is actually what brought me to Paradox in the first place back in Berlin.
True, I remember that's the first time I met you.
It was indeed. Yes, it was. And now we're working Paradox Insider together. So, Paradox Insider. What is Paradox Insider? Those of you that aren't familiar, we're going to be discussing a lot
Little
of
cringe,
expansions
little
that are coming up, a lot of new features, maybe even some future details, future dates, events in the future, stuff like that.
Actually, Troy, sorry to interrupt you there, but as long as we're talking about PDXCon, I do have the first surprise of the day.
Oh, I do have surprises. Do tell.
Well, I'll do better than tell. I'll show. Roll the trailer.
Oh, that was so cringe.
Yeah.
I'll do better than tell. I'll show. Start the trailer.
Ollies, I think this is going to be better than the Bethesda Microsoft thing.
I hope so.
That one was just kind of a corpo circle, you know. Circular massage ring. So far, they haven't said the word ecosystem even once
Alright.
here, so
I
that's
am
good.
so happy to
Digital
personally get to announce
event.
this
Alright,
all-new,
that's cool.
all-digital PDXCon event in May. So in just over 2 months, literally around the corner. And there will be activities taking place during the whole month of May, but the main event is happening May 21st to May 23rd.
My heart so full of joy and probably more cholesterol than it should have.
Well, I'm happy to hear at least about the first part.
Well,
Again,
radiological
cringy,
discussions
guys,
aside, I'm very
cringy.
excited about PDXCon Remixed and want to hear more. So, Paula is going to go over with Eva and Shams to tell us more. So, see you later, Paula. Bye. Have fun. Bon voyage.
And I am joined now by our Masters of Ceremony from PDXCon, our CEO, Eba Jungerud, and our Chief BizDev Officer, Shams Georgiani. Welcome.
Hello, Paula. How you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm so happy to have you here.
Very exciting to be here.
Yeah, and that we finally get to talk
Yes,
about this, right?
finally.
PDXCon Remixed is happening May 21st to May 23rd, and it's completely free for anyone to join. Let's get back to the core here, because we've been doing PDXCon for several years now. Why are we doing PDXCon in the first place?
Well, I mean, for me, it's very much the essence of who we are as a company. It's a place, and as a game developer, really, it's where we can show our values and the culture of the company. It's, of course, where we can show our games.
You know, Polly's, that's
It's
probably
where
one of the
we
best
can
examples
meet
of
with
corporate
fans, and when fans
speak
can meet with us,
is
and when we've asked in the past,
is
when
the
we asked
idea, the
what's been the
concept.
best part of,
I think it was
PDXCon,
started
it's
in
been very
was
much
it
that.
South Park
Meeting with us,
of
meeting
the
with
human
us,
Sentai pad,
favorite
where you just
person,
line
what's
up
your
and
favorite game,
you know,
etc. So super
just
cool.
take in
And that's
other
what we're kinda
people's
bringing it to
crap
Stockholm, Berlin,
just
Taipei,
constantly.
Shanghai.
I think
and
it was
then you
based
put that
on a
crap out and other
digital
people
fan
take that
event.
crap.
Everyone's invited.
Yes, I know. Don't
Yes, and
don't
it's
say it.
called
I know it was a
PDXCon
movie.
Remixed. Why
That
are we calling it
Weird
that?
horror movie.
Well,
Yes.
digital, first of all. It's our first, or our,
I
not our
remember
first,
watching
but it's our
that.
biggest digital event ever, which is super cool. I also think there's an aspect of all our games being there, and we can mix it up a little bit between the games. Remix.
I agree, Malik. They should
Of
be
course,
starting
in
with
the
games
future,
and
we
then
ideally would
sandwich
like,
this in
and
the
this
middle
time as well,
as
we
like a little
would like to do
breather.
things physical, because it is very much
Like,
about the
at the-
meeting. But for obvious reasons,
when we're
it's not possible
we're
this
sitting
year.
down to watch
So
an
we
event,
think that it's a great
I think
way
the last
forward
thing
for
we
us,
want to
and in the future,
hear
maybe we
about
can make
right
both.
at the start is all the
Yeah, and
details
it's
about
also
their
a little
next
bit of,
event.
you
It's
want-
like,
we-
come
We
on.
want to take a little bit of the old and add the
Yeah,
new
I
kind of
know
collaborative
that,
twist.
like,
to the
Yeah.
thing.
and
No, that's
especially
actually a
this
very
is,
good point
is they're
because
talking.
the
I
fan
hate
contribution is such a big
media
part
press
of the grants
events
that
where they
Chantal,
talk
you can
about
dive a
an
little bit
upcoming
deeper
media
into
press
that.
event.
Sure. I mean, fan
It's
collaboration
like,
has always been super
like,
close to
guys,
Paradox DNA.
do we
in many
really
ways.
need to do
You
this?
tell the story.
Like,
Yeah.
Exactly.
really?
So,
It's like
the idea
when they
is to
put out a
bring back
trailer for the
PDX
trailer.
this year. We have a bunch of ideas.
Yeah,
of what
it's
to do,
like
but
it's
we
like
want to
stay
bring
tuned.
in the
Or when
player
they talk
ideas of
about how
what kind of
trailers,
panels
you know,
should we
coming
hold.
eventually.
And
It's like, oh
best
yeah,
of
so
all, we want
there's going to be a
people
cool
from the
trailer,
community
and
to actually
you're going to
host
see
the
some
panel,
cool stuff,
organize
guys.
it.
Aren't you
Maybe
excited?
have
And
ideas
the
for
trailer
tournaments,
is going to
maybe
come
they
out
want to
in
present
3
mods,
weeks.
stuff like that.
It's like, guys, we
Their
don't care
contributions of
about
how to
that.
make the world a nerdier place.
Yeah, and fans can take action starting right now.
Yes, the website is open,
Mhm.
so you can go on there and register. That means you'll get updates on when we release stuff about the schedule, etc., etc. But it's also the place where you can contribute, or you can both come with suggestions on what you want to hear about, and also what you yourself might want to contribute with.
Yeah, and submissions are open until April 9th. After that, we need some time to go through all of this content.
We're hoping for a lot of content.
Yes, we do. We do.
At least they're nicer to look at than any
but
of the
what else can
Microsoft
fans
Bethesda
expect
people.
from PDXCon this year.
I mean, we're gonna have all the.
They look a
standard
little
stuff
more
that we usually do.
engaged
We'll
than
have our
some of the
award
people
show
we've
that we
seen.
always do. But for those that don't want to necessarily be in front of the camera, there's tons of stuff to do as well. To listen in on panels, participate in voting. We have community challenges, tournaments, a lot of ways to kind of be interactive with. your
Yeah.
favorite
Again,
developer if you
their
want to.
their
Yeah,
event
we will start to reveal
is
more
kind of
about the
cool, and
agenda,
it's a lot more
over the
fun
next
than a
couple
lot of other
months.
press events.
But you
But
mentioned
again,
some new
guys,
stuff
just-
there, and we also have the
We don't want to
announcement
hear
show,
about the press
where
event
we
in the future.
usually
So
reveal
far,
our
the-
new stuff. So,
Yes.
but do you
The,
have any hints?
It's all top
there?
secret.
The Larian
Top
one
secret.
takes.
The only thing I can say
Larian
is
one is in first
21st
place as
of
far
May.
as
Yeah.
No, but
entertaining
it's,
events so
I
far.
mean, last time we
Yes,
revealed
bring
back the
Crusader
bovine
cat.
Kings
Even though they
3,
had
I
technical
have
problems,
goosebumps just
that was a
thinking about that.
it was a highly
And
entertaining
I can
event.
tell you that we will be
It was pretty
announcing a
funny.
new game
Yeah.
from the Paradox Development Studio.
Yeah, let the speculation begin.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank
No,
you
we don't
so
want
much,
speculation.
Ebba and
We don't
Shams,
want
for
this
joining
garbage.
us.
Show us
Thanks
some.
for having
Show
us.
us some trailers. Show us some
We
games.
can't wait to tell you more about PDXCon Remix. Head over to the website, sign up, let us know what you think, and submit your own
Okay,
activities.
get to the games, please.
Welcome
Games
back.
Remember,
Yeah.
game
so much.
events,
It's quite a
press
journey to and
events
from
are
the
for
far end of the
games,
stage.
not
Yeah,
for
you
pandering.
didn't tell me this would involve a lot of walking.
Or
You
for
promised it would be
bloated,
easy.
you know,
When
oh,
did
look
I
at
promise
Ardui, so
I
cool. Like, yes,
assumed
please,
it
thank
was
you.
going
We've
to
seen
be
this
easy.
before.
Well, luckily, you get to relax with an interview next. So
Oh.
let's move right on to that.
I can do that.
No, what? No, no
There's a
interview.
lot of stuff to
No,
share
no more
today.
interviews!
Show
From
us something
our
you're
new
putting
surprises
out.
like PDXCon Remix
Oh my goodness.
to closer looks at our favorite games, like our original iconic series Europa Universalis. Joanne is joining us from our new studio, Paradox Tinto in Barcelona, and he's got some cool stuff to share about our new expansion, Leviathan.
Howdy, y'all. With us now, we have the studio manager for Paradox Tinto joining us to discuss all of the new and exciting changes coming to Europa Universalis for this year.
Malik
Welcome,
Obama,
Johan
thank you so
Anderson
much
to
for the
show.
super chat.
Thank you.
Says, here's my speculation.
So
I
it
think
sounds
he
like
might have hit
2020
enter
was a
too early,
very
so we'll
big
just
year
wait for the rest of the
Europa
message here.
Universalis, correct?
Well, that's one way to describe it. Yeah. it
Either
was
that
a
or
pretty
that's
awesome
his,
year.
that's him
It
saying that
was
that's his
absolutely great for
speculation,
you.
and it's
I mean,
just
first of
empty.
all,
There's
released
just nothing.
Emperor,
Thank you so
which
much,
was a
Malik.
huge
Really
success.
appreciate it.
Arguably, or no, not arguably, it's definitely our most successful expansion we've made for the franchise. And we celebrated the 20th anniversary of EU.
When you got a
when
cut
we
to a
started
guy
making
nodding
EU,
his
I was
head,
still a kid, and now
I-
I'm like
I just-
gray-haired,
I
I'm
just-
still working with this
it's
franchise,
not-
and it's
Not
20 years.
So,
What's cool, really cool. and
Malik
probably
says,
really
yeah, I
cool
meant
for me
nothing. Okay, got the
personally
joke,
for-
yeah.
is that
Good
we
job.
started,
Okay,
a
I
new
see.
studio
I
here
was
in
out
Spain
on that.
called Paradox
Yay!
Tinto,
Um,
which,
So while they're talking about
it's
this
just
stupid thing,
awesome to work with
let me
because I'm
mention another one of our
coding
interesting
and
news
designing and have
stories.
a kick-ass
The
team, and we just
Michigan
love working with
Morpheus
them. It's
chip
just super fun.
has
Well,
spent 3
I'm
months
very thrilled to see what Paradox Tinto
being
is gonna
hacked
bring in the years to come, and I know our community is as
24/7
well. And
by
a little bit
the
over a month
world's
ago, we
top
announced the
group
newest
of
expansion
hackers,
for the EU4
and they
universe,
did
and
not
that was
manage to break in.
Leviathan. Would you mind
After
walking us through a
3
little bit about what
months,
that is?
and the most like
Well, one
this
of the
isn't
things
like
we want to
you
do
know
in
you show up
Leviathan
at
was to
a
strengthen the
kiosk and the
concept of
person's
playing
like
together.
hack this with your
That was
phone,
one
and
thing
you know
that
none of your
we are not
fancy
been
tools at
entirely
home.
happy with
Nah,
in
they let these people
EU4
bring
so
in
far.
whatever they
With
wanted
playing
to
tour,
hack
I mean
this
that
thing,
you're
and they could
playing a
not
country
break
that's
it.
small,
So
sized, and you want to
very
stay that way and not
interesting.
just
Yeah,
necessarily conquering everything you see just because
this is
you
really
can.
interesting because
But
up to this
it's a
point, there's
legit
been
strategy
no
to
chip
create a
that has
powerful
ever,
country
ever,
that
ever,
is
ever
not
been
just
able to
used on
do
a
this
map
ever.
but used internally.
And
So we
this
added 3
did
new
it.
features.
So this
First
is
of all,
like
we have
borderline,
concentrated
like
development,
we're
which
bordering on
allows
like
you
quantum
to
stuff here now.
We've
And
we've
this is
got
gonna be
we've got
very
actual
interesting.
in-game something happening here.
into your
So what are,
capital,
In-game
creating
gameplay.
one of these huge cities
So
like Paris or London or
so this game is
Constantinople
basically
or
it's like
whatever huge city you want to
I would
create.
call it like an upgraded
We're
Risk.
synergizing nicely with that
It's
one. So
not
second
as
feature,
much
which is
of
centralized
a
state, which
upgraded
will decrease the governing cost of that
you know
state, because
civilization.
governing cost is
I think civilization is a
with the
bad example for it or a
development
bad
of a
comparison
state,
for it. I
and the
think that
governing
where you
cost will
really
be
would take this
reduced to
game
this by
and
spending
kind of like look at this game,
government reform progress.
you know, comparing
Wow,
it to
there are
something
much
simple
of
as like
similar names
or
in
something
this
that's been
game.
around for a really long time. I
And
would compare it to Risk.
finally, we have the expanded
It's an interesting game. I haven't
which
played very much of it.
allows you to
It is
expand
a
manufacturers
I hear
based on
nothing
no
but good
promise,
things from
multiple
it. So
manufacturers, almost as many as you want if you keep expanding
Europa
infrastructure.
Universalis.
But while all of this is
Yeah.
super cool and makes playing tool very good, that's not
So
really
basically,
why we're
like,
here today. We're here
Well, let's
to talk
see.
about
Let's
another
see what
big
he's
thing,
saying
right,
here.
for Leviathan?
Yeah, isn't that the diplomatic options that the community and I are looking forward to so much?
Yes. One thing we wanted to do with the diplomatic system was to make it more fleshed out. And with that one, we looked at the feature we added in a previous expansion called favors. Favors were something you gained from allies over time, so that when you had been allied with someone for a few years or a few decades, you could call in the favors to have them join in offensive wars that you were not necessarily interested in joining in the first place to help you out. So we thought, how can we expand this? First of all, we added a new diplomatic action called Curry Favors, where you use a diplomat to gain favors over time with that nation. And then we could use all of these favors to stir the pot, so to say, without necessarily declaring war. So you'll use these favors to have them abandoning their allies or have them return a core promise to you, maybe a promise they had gained.
oh yeah, that's not going to be
from you
easy to
earlier. You
manipulate.
could also have them damage relations with the third party, effectively destroying blocks that were forming against you.
Oh, it's more your style of game, Sib. Are you
a real game changer, especially as multiplayer, instantly sabotaging an AI to fight against one of your
I
human
prefer
opponents?
the
Ugh.
games that are more civ-like rather than
Yeah, I mean, this is
these
definitely going to
country
transform the diplomatic
types
side.
because the
I mean,
maps
it
are
will
usually
be
like
slightly less purely war and military at times, and it will
are
give an
usually not
advantage to
generated
nations
on the
with
fly.
lots of
They're usually
diplomats or
pre-built
other
maps.
diplomatic types
I
of
fair
ideas.
kind of don't like that as much.
Oh,
I
yeah,
do enjoy Risk.
I'm really excited to see it,
And I do
honestly.
play a
It
lot of
sounds
Risk, but
really
I play
interesting
that
and
on
really
my
complex.
phone.
And thank you so much for sharing all of
And
those
I do
Leviathan
like
updates.
quick short
But
games,
we also have
whereas
something else
like
to
my
discuss
civ
today,
games will
the
last like
EU4
they'll last
subscription
like
plan.
30-40 hours per
I mean,
game.
during the last
So,
8 years,
Right.
we released quite a lot of expansions,
and I
content
obviously I
packs,
played that
music packs,
over a few days,
and we're
but
perfectly aware
it's just
that not always
it's
everyone
a
is
different
able to
type
buy
of
them
game.
upfront, even
This
if they
one in
want to play
particular
them.
is not
So
too
in
much
2020,
my
we started with early
up
testing
my
of a subscription
flavor
model,
alley, I
and
guess
now
you'd
we're
say.
happy to announce that for $4.99 a month, you will be able to access all current and future content as long as you have an active
So this is
subscription.
what they're talking about
subscription
now.
service?
Live on Steam
Yeah,
on
so what they're
March
talking about now is a
18th
subscription
this year.
service. So they've
March
been throwing
18th
this
sounds like a
around
big
for a
day.
while.
Yes,
If you're
March
getting
18 is
into
the first big date
Stellaris,
for
or
EU
if you're
this
getting
year.
into
Well, thank you
Crusaders
again,
or
Johan, so much for
Europa,
chatting with us about everything.
you're looking at
I know we're very excited for Leviathan and for
5+
all the changes to come to
years of
EU4 this year.
DLC,
Can I
and
add something?
you're looking
Oh,
at
yeah, sure, please.
you know, if you're not buying this within the
first of all, I
confines
want
of
to
the
thank
sale,
to all the
you're
guys in
looking
the
at like
studio
some of these games
doing
have collections
this
upward
work
north
in
of
this hard
$200.
COVID times.
And that is a
I also
very
want to thank
scary
every single
prospect
team at
for somebody
Paradox
who's just
because of
starting
all
out,
the awesome work you're
who
doing.
literally
I
just
want
wants
to
to
make a
play
special
the
shout
game
out to
with their friend
the team here
for a
in
little bit.
Spain because
So
Right.
what
I
they've
love
been
you
talking
guys
about
and
for
you're
a
doing a great
while
job.
is doing a
And
prescription
finally,
a
I just
subscription
want to
service
say a huge
where
thank you
you
to the
just
community
subscribe
because
and
you're
you get
awesome,
all of the
and I just
DLC all at
love
once.
making games for you.
You
I
get
mean,
everything at
I
once,
will never stop
and you're
making
able
games
to play
because it's
with
so
other
fun to
people
make
who've been
games for you
playing it for
guys.
years.
That's right.
And
thank
you're
you
not
again,
being
community.
forced to
Without
sink
your
in an
passion,
enormous amount of
we would
money
not be where we are today with
on the
Eve
front
4.
end.
We hope that this year to come will be exciting.
I guess,
for you,
yeah, there
and
is a
hope
logic to
Leviathan
that,
helps
for
you
sure.
to enjoy Eve 4 for years to come.
For those of us who have been playing it for years, and I own almost every single Stellaris
Thanks to Johan for sharing
DLC
what his
that
team
there
has been up
is.
to. Troy.
That's obviously not
Well,
something
now
that
we're headed from
interests me,
Universalis to a
and that's
game
not,
with
it's not something that
Universalis.
I
No,
want
no, no,
for
no, no.
myself.
Seriously,
but I
you're
think that
not
it's a
allowed
good
back
idea
here.
for
Wait,
other
what'd I
people
do?
to kind of
Troy,
get new
we
players
specifically
into
had a
these
meeting
games.
about not keeping that
So-
dumb joke in the show. Remember?
Well, I figured we had the space for it.
Oh, seriously. Just head straight back to the interview area and think about what
That's
you've
not
done
the
while you go
dumbest
there.
joke that's
Fine.
been told here, lady.
Up next, we're going to hear about
True.
Nemesis, our new expansion coming to Stellaris. And joining Troy
here we
now
go.
is another of our development stars.
Nemesis.
That's right. I am here with a longtime Paradox favorite, the game director for Stellaris, Daniel Moragord.
Thank you for inviting me, Troy.
And thank you so much for being here. I know we're all busy, and I know 2020 was a very trying year for everyone. Can you tell us a little
Troy,
bit
you
about
need
what
to speak
happened
with
with
a little bit
Stellaris
more
in
reflection,
2020?
buddy.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Polly's, thank you so much for the
2020 was a
super
challenging
sticker,
year
or
for
what is that
everyone.
was called?
There's no denying that.
Salt.
The team has
The
been
salt
working
shaker.
hard
The salt
for
shaker.
months for about
He's a
year
little
now,
salty
and I know
right
it's
now.
gonna be
That's
tough
what
for
he's
some.
saying.
Yes, I
But
get that.
ultimately,
The
I'm
salt,
very proud of
the
all
salt
things we
sticker.
managed
Thank
to
you.
achieve in
I'm just
2020.
trying to remember
On
what
the
those are
console
called.
side, we
Super
managed to
stickers or
release,
something.
Apocalypse, Synthetic Dawn, as well as Distant Stars.
So
And on the
this
PC
this
side,
is
we managed to
this is
release
an important
Federations, Necroids,
DLC.
as well as a free update in May.
Well, it was, all things considered, sounds like a very good
Yeah, like
year for
Polly's
Stellaris.
is right. Show us
Yeah,
the show. Don't tell.
ultimately, it
What
was a
what are
record
you
year
doing,
for
guys?
Stellaris, and I really want to thank all
Yeah,
the players
I
out
thought
there
you were
for
showing us
supporting
things,
us.
guys.
Well, as part of the community
That's
myself,
what she said.
thank you so much for your hard work. And now, for the important news, can you tell us a little bit about the future of the future?
Absolutely, I'd be glad to. Today we have some news for both console edition as well as for the PC edition. So I thought we'd start by talking a little bit about the changes for the console edition.
And I hear we have a trailer for that, correct?
Yes, we do.
So let's go ahead and get that trailer rolling right now.
So together with Tantalus, we're continuing to improve the experience for the console edition players in 2021 by adding a lot of free additions to the game. So by bringing the game to the 2.6 Vern version of the game, we're adding galactic community as well as archaeological sites, which will improve the diplomatic and discovery aspects of Stellaris. But we also have some more exciting news to share, actually.
Oh, right into
Okay,
the trailer.
That's
cool.
that's what this whole show should be. Like, we got something awesome to show you, and then show it to us.
So we're very happy to announce that the Lithoid Species Pack, as well as the 2.6 Vern update, will be available to all console players on March 25th.
So is this stuff that's already on
But there's
PC
also
that they're
more
now
news
making
to,
available on
Yeah,
console?
happen
yeah.
in 2021.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
So, it sounds like
Lithoids
console
is, I
players
think,
have a lot of
2
good news coming up
years
this year.
old.
But I gotta ask, what about the PC players?
Absolutely. I'm very excited to talk about our next
wonder
expansion.
Why
Nemesis.
the console
But
edition is
before
so
we
far
start,
behind?
diving into the details,
They
let's take a
didn't
look at
even
this
port
trailer
it to the
properly set the
consoles
mood.
until last year, I think it was. Or a year before, maybe.
Following the destruction of the entire Oblogon system, not even the squabbling diplomats of the galactic community could ignore the encroaching darkness.
We humbly accept the emergency powers the Senate has bestowed upon us. Our union shall be consumed by petty feuds no more. As custodians, we will lead the charge against this terrible crisis that threatens to end us all. Our differences shall become our strengths. Beginning today, we stand as one.
And so, we rally to the custodians as a beacon of hope. They alone seem to stand between us and utter oblivion. And yet, the brighter the light, the darker
it's the purple board.
the shadow.
Sorry. That looks cool, but yeah, I just think bestowing emergency powers on a galactic leader, that always ends well. Good questions. Does this game have crossplay?
Crossplay, I
so
don't
excited.
think so.
That looked amazing.
Might
I
get
can't wait for
complicated
Nemesis.
with
Can you
the
explain
different
just a little
versions
bit
on
about
different
what we saw just now in that trailer?
systems.
Yeah, so in Nemesis we're
So they
focusing
fight.
on
So they're
essentially
gonna fight
destruction
the
and
purple
chaos. We're
Xbox.
focusing on all the things that can go wrong. Which is
Yeah.
very much a stark contrast with our previous expansion, Federation, which focused on diplomacy and cooperation. So in Nemesis you will be able to choose if you will become the crisis or if you will be the custodian that aims to stop it. So essentially we're setting the stage for these two Nemesis to battle over the fate of the galaxy. Yeah, we're also adding espionage and a new intel system.
I usually
I know
become the
previously in one of
crisis.
the dev diaries we talked about how
course
you
you
could
do.
explore other alien empires
Yeah,
using
I
this
usually become
espionage
the
intel
crisis.
system. So
I
that
usually
sounds
start
really
assimilating
interesting
everybody
to me.
into my
And I do have to
singular
ask,
collective.
though, you mentioned something about
Somehow
crisis
they
with
don't like
custodian.
that.
Could you
I don't know
elaborate a bit?
why.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
So
just
the
have their
crisis
best
becomes
interests at
crisis
heart,
feature
after
is
all.
a new feature in
You want to
Nemesis.
create
So
peace
you'll
and
be able to do
unity.
evil deeds, unlock new powerful
By crushing all
bonuses,
opposition.
and eventually you'll be able to threaten the existence of the galaxy
Forcing
by
them to get along.
consuming its very stars.
Manipulating their
Consuming
brains so
the
they have no
stars.
hostility.
Does that mean you'll actually be able to blow up or destroy stars?
Yeah, that's correct, Troy. You'll be able to blow up stars.
Man, I'm really excited. I know the community is going to be really excited about it as well. It sounds like an interesting feature. And
Wait.
you
They're going
also
to
mentioned,
destroy
Crisis
ecosystems?
and
This is
Custodian.
like
Would you like to tell us
this is
about the
the
Custodian a little bit?
anti-Bethesda
So the
stream here.
custodian is basically the chief crisis fighter. So we want the players to be able to become the crisis, but we also wanted the crisis to have its own natural enemy, like its nemesis. So the galactic community can band together to elect their chief crisis fighter, which is essentially what the custodian is. So the custodian gets access to emergency powers and can also build a galactic defense force fleet to help fight the crisis.
Okay, so I become the custodian. I get out there, I beat up and defeat the crisis. I come home, saving the galaxy to critical fanfare from everyone. Everyone's joyously celebrating in the streets. And then what? Do I just go back to being a faceless Jeff mopping stalls for the rest of my days?
That depends entirely on you, Troy. Perhaps in order to fight the crisis, you needed to ask for more powers. You need to ask for more permanent powers that you might not be so willing to give up. So perhaps you instead
Really?
I think he's talking your alley now.
Yeah.
With you as its rightful ruler.
It is cool that you can approach it in all these different ways.
Sort of
Oh yeah,
what we're trying to do
it's
with
super
Nemesis.
huge, and
Even though one
you throw in a
crisis might be
handful of
defeated
mods,
and
and
the
you can
galaxy failed,
incorporate
the
any of
next
the,
crisis might
you
be just
can
around the
incorporate
corner,
Star
and this
Wars,
time it's a
Warhammer,
diplomatic
really like the
tons
premises so
of
far.
different
You have these two arch
anime,
nemeses
Star,
fighting each other, going head to head, jeopardizing
Star
or trying to
shows.
save the galaxy.
That's
But
not the
it
term. Sci-fi
doesn't just
shows.
end there, and that's what really interests me. So I've
There's
gotta ask the question
so
that I know
many
is going to be the
different
first
mods
one
that you
asked
can
by the
incorporate
community
into this
as
to
soon as
make
they
it
hear this news.
fill any kind
When
of
can
like
I
your
become the
dream
Emperor?
sci-fi universe.
We're happy to
If you want to
announce
have
that Nemesis will be
Star
available
Trek
on
ships
April
fighting
15th.
Star Wars
April 15th. You heard it,
ships
folks. Get out
and
there,
throw in a
follow
little
social
bit
media
of,
channels, wish list the expansion
Warhammer
now,
stuff,
and
you
get
can
ready
do that.
to
And
light
that's
the
what makes this
flame.
so cool as a modding platform on top of the base
Thank
game,
you,
which is
Daniel.
pretty
And Troy,
awesome and gives you a
An
ton of choice
underhanded
and
monster
options
like you
as well.
should feel right at
So,
home in Nemesis.
I was
We
showing
have plenty
Moon
more in store
how
for you today
when you can
on
create
Paradox
characters, you
Insider.
can create
Coming
them.
up, we're going to talk
You
to Brenda
create
Romero
your
about
character
Empire
species.
and
You can
Alexander
create them in
Oltner is
any
going to share some new
different
stuff
which
that
way
is
that you
coming
want
to
to, and
Crusader
you can have
Kings
multiple
3.
species. You can have
But
robots,
before
slave
we get to
robots
that,
that
though, I have something
can
else
end
to
up turning
share
on you
with
and
those of
becoming
you who are hoping
sentient.
to
You
see
can
more
you can
of
have
the
a slave
terrible secrets of
species that
space.
you can you can program
Paradox have a
into their
surprise for
slave
you, located
species
right
that
here
they
in our
are
own
tasty and they
galaxy.
taste good, so
Let's
that
have a
you
look.
can, raise them as essentially food cattle, that are really good miners. So you have both your mining and your food handled by this one species. So it's pretty awesome.
Look at it.
I missed what she said. Is this still Stellaris? Or
This is
something
this
else?
no, this is Mars.
We have left to discover here.
Mars colony. Like, this is clearly Mars.
Well, yeah.
Closer. This is the dawn of a new era.
Surviving Mars. New content releasing 2021. Cool.
It's a pretty good simulator.
That's right. We're returning to the Red Planet. With me today, I have Magnus, the product manager for Surviving Mars.
Hi, Troy.
Howdy. So development has resumed on Surviving Mars coming 2021. That's really exciting. But for anyone that hasn't tried the game or has been living on a different planet for a few years, can you tell me what the game is about?
Sure thing. Surviving Mars is a survival colony builder from us at Paradox Interactive. It's one of the most iconic games in the genre, with more than 5 million players worldwide. We released the game back in 2018, and ever since we released the DLC Green Planet back in 2019, our fans, you guys, have been, telling us that you want more content, and so that's what we did.
Wow, new content. Does that mean that there's going to be a sequel to Surviving Mars in the works?
Well, just to set some expectations here and now, this is not a sequel. Rather, development has resumed on the game. What I can tell you here today, though, is that there will be an expansion coming out later this year.
An expansion.
Yeah.
Very excellent. Now I'm super excited, but I have to ask, who's working on this new content?
I'm happy that you're excited, Troy. So are we. The fine folks at Abstraction Games, based in Holland, they've done a great job so far. And so we believe that that you guys have a lot to be excited about.
Well, I'm excited. I know the community is now going to be very excited. So I have to ask you the question that I know is going to be the very first one off the lips of everyone of our community. When can we expect this new content from Abstraction?
Well, you don't have to wait so long, actually. We're going to launch a free update on March 15th, actually. And that's going to focus on the game's tourism mechanics. So we're going to expand the game a little bit. So we're happy to
Mars tourism.
March 15th, like 2 days from now.
Yeah, 2 days from now. Yeah.
That's really soon.
No.
Man, that's exciting.
But that's not all.
Oh, yeah.
We also have a
Tomorrow's Pi Day
creator pack in the pipeline as well. That's been developed by a longtime community modder, Silva. He's actually famous in the community. He's done some of the best mods out there, such as modular apartments and.
He's the one that did the geothermal power plants.
Yeah.
Hey, this is what you've been talking about that game companies need to start doing is bringing in modders to develop content.
And they're also going to be launched on March 15th alongside the free.
And this is one of the reasons why I'm very excited for Paradox, because they are embracing things that other studios haven't had the brains
already, or if you want to pick up any new cool expansions, the game will be on this,
which is really shocking
on the platforms
honestly,
where the game is available. So please go check it out.
That is definitely great news for anybody that wants to try it.
Yeah, I mean, we're super excited to show you what's coming up for Surviving Mars.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Magnus.
Thank you, Troy.
Very cool stuff. So who would have thought today we'd hear how our team is reviving Mars?
See, it's catching on. The dumb pun is one of life's simplest pleasures.
I actually hate myself a little right now. Please just move on.
All right, then, I guess. Paul's now going to go talk to Brenda Romero.
Puns only work
Games.
when you can deliver them in a way that makes it obvious you're doing it ironically.
Meantime, we move from the Red Planet's hostile wasteland to 1920s Chicago's hostile wasteland, where
here we go, Empire,
work on maintaining their surviving bars.
And there she is,
come on,
Brenda Romero, game director of Empire of Sin. Hi, how are you?
Hi there. Hi, Paula.
Hi, Brenda. You released the game right after Crusader Kings 3, so no pressure there, right?
None at all. Yeah, we here in the studio played a lot of CK3 when it came out, and we definitely felt some pressure seeing the incredible reception that it got from press and fans. I mean, huge congrats to the team.
Yeah, and you released the game in December. Can you tell us a little bit about that release?
Yeah, of course. So when Empire of Sin was released, the reception was decidedly mixed. So on the one hand, there was a lot of love for the game. People loved the setting, playing as the different bosses, the gangsters, the blend of RPG and empire builder and strategy. But on the other hand, there was also a lot of feedback for us to consider and a good number of issues to address. So we wanted to
It
strengthen what
was a
players
little
loved
dry
about the
on
game while
content, yes.
immediately addressing the things that were getting in the way of them enjoying their experience in Empire of Sin. In addition to a couple of hot fixes right after launch, we've also recently released our first big update.
So it sounds like you have a great community.
Oh, we absolutely do. So our players have been invaluable in guiding our post-launch plans. And as I mentioned, you can already see we've jumped on their biggest issues and most pressing issues and taken those suggestions to heart. In fact, recently we announced 2 new things so that we can make the community's connection to us even better. First, we formed a community council and we call them the family. So it's a group of active, passionate, and most importantly, super vocal players. And they've already given us some amazing feedback and suggestions that we're following up on. So they're kind of the voice of the community, you'd say, and the dev team is right in there with them. Second, we've created an opt-in beta branch so that all players can test out the development build while it's in production. We're looking forward to continuing to work with our community, of course, and we're continuously gathering feedback in Discord and on the Paradox forums. We're pretty much everywhere.
That sounded
Wow,
like
so there seems
that
to
sounded
be
like
a
that to me,
lot of
Malik.
things
It sounded
going
like they
on
addressed
at
criticism
River
and
Games
moved to
generally
improve
at
things.
the development side
Now,
of the game.
Yeah, there is.
it
a lot
wasn't
going on.
I mean,
in
it wasn't
Empire
a
of Sin,
terrible
we
launch
believe we
like
have a
some other
really
games
great
that have
foundation,
needed
and
to address
we're
criticism.
improving that foundation
It wasn't a
every day by
horrendous
adding
launch.
features that players
They
want
did
and
have a
building
lot of
upon the
issues,
world
but
we've
again,
created
a lot
to
of the
deepen the gameplay
people who play
experience.
these types of
Players
games
know that we're
typically
committed to
know what they're
ongoing
getting
development
into,
and to
but the
support. And
combat
like I
needed
said,
to
we're
be
in all the
improved. A
forums,
lot
we're
of the UI
listening.
systems
We've
were
got eyes and ears
really
everywhere. And besides
clunky and
improving
needed
the base game,
massive
we are
amounts of
really looking
improvements.
forward to releasing our first DLC later this year. So there's big things in store for that. But first, we needed to focus on the 103 and 104 updates.
Where is she from?
That's
It's snowing
very
outside
cool.
her
Can
window.
you tell us a little bit about those updates?
Yeah,
That's a good
so
question.
103 is
It's not
already
even-
out there, and that was called the Safe House. So it addressed some critical issues and exploits that our players, well, they helpfully pointed them out to us.
the
as well as
exploits
fixes
in
and some
all
quality of life
Paradox
updates that
games
players
are
asked for.
hilarious.
So it's a big long list, and they've really been our immediate priority ever since launch. Listening to players and focusing on their requests, making sure that the feedback that they provide is getting to us, getting heard, and getting acted upon. So we're all over the forums and Discord, and we're always happy to hear from players. Our next big patch, 104, is known as the Auto Resolve update. That probably gives you an idea precisely what that contains. It is very much anticipated, and there'll be lots of other improvements along with that as well.
Are they adding auto resolve or are they fixing auto
Looking
resolve?
forward for the DLC and all of these updates, and luckily I get to play the games early.
That's very good for you.
Yeah.
So speaking of games, before we part
God.
ways,
She
I
did
will
not
tell you
sound
that,
like
a
she
bit
was
about an
impressed with
announcement we have
that.
to make.
That's
So I'm
very
really
good
excited
for
to let
you.
everyone know that Empire of Sin will be included on the Xbox Game Pass beginning on March 18th on console and PC. So if you have
There it
Game
is.
Pass, please
Xbox
All
Game
right,
Pass.
So this is this is
Brenda,
I mean,
before I
Xbox
let
is
you go,
really pulling out
do
all the
you
stops
have any
here. They
tips
really,
for those
really want to make
newcomer
Game
monsters
Pass
out
a
there looking to
basically
take over
a
Chicago?
basic necessity
I do.
for
So
like
first,
any gamer,
reload your gun.
basically.
That's pretty critical. But the probably the real best advice I can give is go check out our forums and go check out the dev diaries. There's so much advice, and it differs depending on which developer is playing the game. So my favorite boss is Daniel McKee Jackson, but others have other favorites, and all that information's over on the forums.
That's really great advice. So thank you so much for that, Brenda.
Thank you. It was great talking to you, Paula.
With new content and update coming, make sure to check out Empire of Sin.
Like, at least put some
Well,
game
I'm
footage
really
up on the
excited to see
screen
what
while you're
Empire
talking
Sin
about it, or
has
something.
coming
Do
months.
something.
But there's just one thing I never understood about that game.
You mean, why would anyone think Prohibition would work?
Well, I mean, I guess there's that.
That's a
but
good question.
Really, why does it have to be an empire of sin? I mean, it's not a complicated process. You just build up your monthly piety, maybe grab the Defender of the Faith perk, and then reform your core tenets, and then boom. Prostitution, alcoholism, not a sin anymore. You're good to go. Your empire's great.
Troy, this is obviously an excuse to talk about your favorite game.
Well, of course it is, Paula.
Well, I can see that your next guest has already arrived, so...
Oh, the
you should probably
cringy
head over
jokes.
there.
I should probably head over there, but I'll see you soon. The first thing we should announce today is that our game design lead, Alex Oltner, is taking over as game director. It's now his ship to steer, and we know it's in good hands.
The sad part
So,
is
congratulations,
that
Alex.
this was
Thank you,
all
Troy.
carefully scripted and
And
choreographed.
we
You can
would
tell
both
by the
like
way
to
they're moving around the studio.
Interest and
I know.
enthusiasm in
It's
game
so
launch would not have been
sad
as
when they
smooth
do
or as
this.
wonderful as
It's
it was.
so painful.
And we hope to increase that enthusiasm with the months and years to come. So, Alex, now that you're a game director, does that make you a king or a duke?
I do believe that it makes me a king. The old game director, Henrik Fåhraeus, has ascended to the ranks of emperor and become creative director. So I remain his loyal subject.
On that subject, we launched the game. One of our goals was to launch it as a complete game experience. That was one of our core values. I think we did a good job, and I hope we continue doing so. And one of our goals is to do that with flavor packs. For those that aren't familiar with flavor packs, maybe you could enlighten us.
Absolutely. So a flavor pack is bigger than you would expect a traditional Paradox cosmetic pack to be, but distinctly smaller than a major expansion. They focus on a specific area or a specific culture or region, and they contain things such as graphical assets like clothes, hairs, beards, units, whatever, awesome new music and audio, and plenty of new content to experience, such as events, decisions, or interactions to take.
So it sounds like while it enriches and enhances the game experience at a basic level, it doesn't add any core gameplay changes, right?
We avoid changing anything major with flavor packs. They are supposed to be smaller and more focused and really hone in on enhancing an area. We want there to be a very clear divide between what is a flavor pack and what is an expansion, so that there is no confusion. Of course, there will be a patch.
Flavor pack,
containing
that's a weird
lot
word
of
for it.
exciting fixes and a few new features.
Basically, it's
And
they
of course,
are
if you're on the
adding
expansion pass,
in.
you will get the flavor pack.
I know the community.
They're adding in
like I'm really excited.
Visual
And I hear we
customization
have a
mostly.
special trailer for
So
every
it's
play,
nothing
right?
game
We do.
breaking.
Which is,
Let's go
I
ahead
see
and
why
roll
they
that
called
footage
it
then.
that.
Yeah.
It's not changing the mechanics, it's changing the flavor.
Remember,
Yeah.
there is
Oh, here we
more
go.
to these northern lords than meets the eye.
Dude, just lounging.
Real strategy requires cunning.
I like the live painting feel.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm super excited. I know you're super excited. The big question, why did we choose the Norse to start with?
Well, as you know, it's a time-honored tradition for Paradox to make sure that Sweden is overpowered in every game we make.
You heard him, overpowered.
Well, on a more serious note, we know that the Norse are very popular with players and that the sort of tribal raiding gameplay style is very appreciated.
Yeah,
And
just a little bit
the
this
early
year.
starting
Yeah.
date where they are present is fascinating in that Europe is shattered, it's easy to carve out your own destiny, and we wanted to enhance that experience.
So we have this kind of preconceived notion, I know most people do, of the Norse as these Viking raiding pillagers, brave warriors of the sea, but that's not all they were, right?
No, that's not all they are. They definitely still are brave warriors of the sea, and the player will be able to live out whatever fantasy they have regarding that. But we do also want to show the fact that they have a complex and rich culture. They were traders as well as raiders, and of course, prolific adventurers above all.
So it sounds like we have a very deep, vibrant tapestry painted of their daily lives outside of that pillaging, raiding mindset. How and what can we
They're not
expect to
all
see this
pillagers.
represented as in the Northern Lords flavor pack?
Quite a few things. One of the things that excite me the absolute most is the ability to pack up your things and leave your frigid homeland of Scandinavia for richer coasts. You will be able to go on an actual adventure and settle in foreign lands. There is also a new dueling system, which the Norse make prolific use of in a very specific thing called trial by combat, which was a very Norse thing to do to settle disputes. And of course, there's also a slew of new goals to pursue, such as founding the High Kingdom of the North Sea.
So it sounds like we have a whole long ship full of new Norse-themed events, escaping thralls, braggart wanderers, duels and curses between, rival court
There is a
members,
lot of
shield
talking,
maidens,
yes,
stuff like
lots
that.
of talking. Yeah.
That's a lot of
Yeah.
new content for the Norse culture and society.
Yes, and that's not all. We also have Blot.
And again, it's like I wish I could. I wish I could convince these studios that they need somebody on the team. Surely, one person on the team has the ability to come on and speak with,
of course, if you don't live up to their
just to speak with real, passionate resolve, and
enjoy two new
or they could hire somebody for it. When you're zooming in on somebody who's nodding their head slowly, as somebody who speaks in a monotone voice, this does not make a good press conference. This does not make.
About how the Norse aren't just these pillaging raiders, these warriors of the sea, and that's not right. That's not all they were. How did we portray that difference in Northern Lords?
Well, we do several different things, and of course, they aren't all raiders. When they go raiding overseas, you might see them instead strike a trade deal with the locals, getting something that benefits both parties, and also more close, down-to-earth things, such as sending poetry, writing poetry, or just enjoying time with your kids and having snowball fights or going sledding.
So it sounds very, very in-depth. I know I'm super excited for the content. I can't wait. And I know our community is super rabid for content. They've been waiting months for this. And as soon as this airs, there's going to be one question on everybody's mind. When?
We are excited to say that already next week, on Tuesday, March the 16th, you'll be able to get your hands on the flavor pack. And of course, if you own the expansion pass, you will be getting the flavor pack.
This week, that's so soon. I know I'm super excited. I know you're super excited. And for those of you out in the community, I know you're excited. So get ready to get out there and live your history. Alex, thank you so much for being here today. Thanks for all the information. And thanks for sharing with us about Northern Lords.
Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Alex.
Hello, Paula. I guess this is the end of my dynastic line.
I guess
He
so.
sounds
But thanks
really
for dropping
excited.
No worries. Thank you.
I know.
You can
Oh my
fabricate
goodness.
a claim on this
You're
content
excited.
very,
I'm excited.
very
Everyone's
soon.
excited.
So we had
He's
Crusaders
really
and
excited.
Martians and mobsters.
I mean,
oh my.
Do you feel like you got a lot of cool stuff for your birthday this year?
Yeah, I would have honestly.
Oh my.
Oh, are they really wrapping it up this way? So,
today.
like,
Yeah.
They-
Is it maybe too
they're pulling
much?
people
Should we
from
have
in their
stepped lower
studio.
this
They
budget?
probably found the
Well,
best
I mean,
people available.
thankfully,
Like,
we're not the only ones
someone
selling
who works
it,
for a
but-
game
I don't
company.
think I don't think they found the best people for the job. I
That
think they
is
found the
very
most
true.
important
Up
person
next
for the job in
is
all
the
of these
Skylines,
things.
our
Who maybe
civic
could
management
pull off something.
simulator game
I
that
mean, I don't
celebrated
expect
its
a game.
anniversary this year.
Someone who your
And
average
it's
person
not
who
just us
works
at
for a
Paradox
game
that are
company is not
celebrating.
necessarily
Let's
like
have a look at what the
someone who's
community
good
has
at
to say.
presenting. They're good at other things. That's why the game company hired them. But still, yeah.
Happy 6th birthday, City Skylines. Happy birthday, City Skylines from Cities in a Snap.
Somebody was somebody earlier said they would burn down the world if they didn't talk about this game. So here we go.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, City Skylines.
Happy birthday, City Skylines.
Happy 6th birthdays. Happy birthdays.
Happy birthday. Happy 6th birthday. Happy birthday.
สุขสันต์วันเกิด City Skyline.
Wishing Paradox and City Skylines a happy 6th birthday.
My favorite part about the game is actually the community that surrounds it. I love this game.
Thank you for 6 years of creative city building, fun challenges, and new friendships.
It's the best city building game that I've ever played.
It is my favorite game.
Parabéns, Colossal Order e Paradox Interactive pelo 6º aniversário de Cities Skylines.
There are always new things to discover.
Muy buenas, concejales. Soy Chebasto y hoy quería felicitar a Cities Skylines. ¡Felicidades, Cities!
Happy birthday, Cities! And with us to represent the game here today is Helena. Hello. community manager for City Skylines, and Samantha, the community manager from the game developer Colossal Order. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. So we just saw a lot of love from the community. How does it feel like from a community manager's perspective to see something like that?
As a community manager, it's amazing. Like, our community is so awesome. From the hardcore players who record and stream regularly, to the modders who bring these brilliant ideas and assets to the game, to our players that follow us on social media. We have a really great group of old and new players who are contributing in their own way. Either
it's really good to see a company look at their modders and say, hey, you guys are doing a really bang up job. This is really cool. We really want to help encourage this. And other companies are starting to take note. So just as a side
but from Colossal Order's
segue from this,
like
again, this very, very boring press conference. Humankind being developed
been an amazing
by
journey for us to just see like players take the game beyond our original
Amplitude
ideas
Studios.
Hold on a sec. Tell us in a minute, because this is a game that people were most interested in. So I'm going to turn the stream back up here.
By adding DLCs, with new content, giving them more transportation options, green alternatives and industries, and of course there's the radio stations and content creator packs, all to let players create their dream cities.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken there, you were one of those creators who brought one of those packs to life.
That's correct. I did the European Suburbia one.
That's the one, yes. But now let's dive into the building blocks of cities and look at cities by the numbers.
Malik, I agree with you. This is disappointing.
Oh, here we go. Are you going to show us stuff?
No. This is them not showing us anything. This is what Malik's upset about. This is a game that's been out for 6 going on 7 years, and they have yet to create a new game or announce a new development in this. And he's not the only person who's upset with this. There's lots of people who want to see an improved engine, an updated stuff, and we're still not seeing that here. The only growth that this game is having is from their modders. Thank you for doing our work for us.
Well, have they been putting out their own expansions?
Not really, no.
No, just yay.
Yay.
But that's why Malik is upset.
All right, so cities' combined population stretches beyond 333 billion citizens living in 74,532,487 cities. These are some pretty mind-boggling numbers, and it seems like we have a very productive community.
It's mind-boggling how little I care about those numbers.
It's amazing to see numbers like that.
I get, but again, they're celebrating how big how popular this game is. I'm not. That's all good and everything. But yes, I mean,
and their work actually
they're
goes
telling
beyond
us nothing
the game
here.
itself.
No, the worst thing is that they're not giving the players what they want, which is a Skylines 2, or something down the road that they can look forward to, or some major DLC. It's like all they're really focusing on is like this very small stuff, very small DLC that's not really doing anything for the community, and the community is creating so much of the stuff around
one
these
of our
games.
Community's most favorite events are global build-offs.
All right, so it feels almost impossible to talk about cities without mentioning the mods. And I think we saw a number in the video there. There were over 240,000 mods created or something like that. And that seems pretty unique.
Yeah, that's really incredible. We always expected players to mod the game, but they've taken it to an extent that's really been a surprise to us as well. And mods especially have actually been an inspiration for us. We've seen what the community has created, and that's inspired features in the game.
Right, like the ability to track where traffic is headed, or enable and disable traffic lights or road building guidelines, right?
Yeah. Exactly, and those are just a couple of examples of players inspiring us. And from the start, we wanted to work with the modding community and encourage it. And over the years, that's taken the shape of a modding beta, where modders can test out their mods before a major patch is released, and prepare any updates, just making for a smoother experience for players. And
Is that a
we've
Polish
added a road
accent?
editor that was
She sounds
developed
a lot
based on
like
feedback
Lilia.
from our modding community. So it's just been incredible to see our
think
modding
so.
community grow over the years into what it's become today.
All right, and now we're here, and 6 years is quite a milestone. How will you celebrate?
We're gonna party! No, but really, we're excited to
What, no
continue
party?
focusing on cool mods and amazing players.
That was the
and
most
the community
excited
at
voice
large,
I've heard this whole
and
time.
continue doing cool events, including an announcement I'd like to make right now, which is the Berlin Build-Off. Jason, aka Ami Polizei Funk, in collaboration with Paradox and the Berlin Stadtmuseum, with the help of some other talented content creators, he has rebuilt the map of Berlin, and now he challenges you to create a bridge in the city center.
Oh, wow. So where can I join and when?
It's easy. Officially, the contest starts right after Paradox Insider, and you can go on our social platforms to get information. You'll have about 5 weeks to build something and submit it, and you could potentially win some very cool prizes. So all the rules and information are on our social platforms. So we encourage you, if you're not already, to follow us on social media.
All right, that's it. Thank you so much, Helena and Samantha, for joining us. And you heard her. Head over to social and join that challenge. Happy birthday, cities.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks again to the cities team. And you know what, Paul? I think that does it. I think that's it for us. I think everything for Insider is now outside.
Yeah, and what an awesome show we've had. Leviathan,
I was
Nemesis,
really
the Northern
hoping
Lords,
for some
and
Bloodlines
the south side
or
of
some-
Chicago.
Not to mention a return to the untamed surface of Mars.
Yes.
Or-
and of
or a
course,
new
we
game
revealed
announcement.
PDXCon Remixed, coming to an internet near you on May 21st.
Wait, so that wasn't even
And
a
remember,
lead up
we
to a
want hear
surprise
about
reveal?
what
Come
you
on.
want to see, do, and share. So please head over to the website and sign up.
And Paul, this has just been a delightful birthday.
Yes, I can't think of a better way we could have spent it. Actually.
Or better people to spend it with.
Oh, thank you. And thank you. We hope that you've enjoyed this Paradox Insider, and there will be news about those upcoming games very soon. But until then,
Stay safe
stay sane.
and go play some video games.
So disappointed. Oh, so disappointed.
Oh, wait, we got... Now they're showing us actual... But this is nothing
this
new
is what they
here.
showed us at the beginning. This is what they showed us at the beginning of the thing.
Yeah.
I'm so disappointed. I was really looking forward to Paradox doing something new.
Niv said he'd rather have had a regular Saturday podcast. Yeah, we opted for this because the news is depressing lately.
The news is super depressing and super dry right now.
And we thought, hey, let's talk about new, fresh stuff.
There was more fresh stuff in the indie catalog. We should have just done the indie one.
Indeed.
Oh, so yeah, Malik, I am so sorry that you did not get what you were hoping for. I know that there's a lot of people who have been looking at Skylines. They really have been wanting something new. Skylines was built on old technology as is, so it's not just that it's old. It's that it's really, really old, and that we're looking at a game engine that's like 10 years old plus. It's a very popular game. SimCity was one of the critical core games to me growing up. There are dozens and dozens of world city builders that have just a humongous following. But it seems that the companies that are behind these programs, that are behind these games, that have the ability to update this stuff and grow this stuff, just don't do it. They're not interested in it. And that's depressing, because if they're not willing to go the extra mile to try and start creating something new, and what you end up getting is the bulk of the new stuff that's being made for these games is being made by modders then the hope for a new game in this category is like it's going to be like a really long ways away. And I do hate that. I do hate that, I do wish that there was more stuff coming out sooner. And like, Solaris has big game studio, big game DLC, like big, huge things that come out and wow you, add a whole bunch of new features to the game, things that are completely brand new. But that's not what we're getting here with Skylines. We're just getting blah. We're just getting blah. And that's all there is. And again, the greatest note being that the developer, the modding is really like taking the game in a new direction.
And it's nice that they're acknowledging the modding community,
yeah.
But at the same time, they're doing all the work for you.
Yeah. And this would literally be like if Bethesda came out and showcased like all the top mods, the last like 5 years, going, hey, look at all this amazing work, guys! Look at all this new content for the game, and you as a creator, or you as a player, are sitting there going, is that it? Is that really all that we're getting? Now, I mean, we haven't had a new Skyrim game in Elder Scrolls game. We haven't had a new Elder Scrolls game since Skyrim, and that's been pretty brutal. And people have been really disappointed with that. I think Elder Scrolls Online, I think it came out after Skyrim. I want to say it came out after Skyrim.
ESO Online?
Yeah.
I think so.
I think so too.
Skyrim's been out since the dinosaurs, so.
Mm-hmm. So it's really sad that, again, a lot of people were looking forward to this stuff. And there's some people who are saying, why did Paradox take Tencent's money when they did absolutely nothing with it? They took a major buyout. It's not a controlling stake, as far as I know. But why did they take this money when they aren't doing anything with it? There was nothing new added to the game. They basically talked about 2 cosmetic updates, some general work of improvement working around Empire, and then they got the big Stellaris update, and that's it. So again, super disappointed. There was more cool stuff in the indie showcase than there was here. So that's
well, we actually got to see games in the indie showcase.
Yeah. And here we didn't even see anything. There was one new trailer. Everything else was just rehashed content. So that's so disappointing. Just want to point out that it is good that modders are taking center play in a lot of these stuff. And when looking at games like Humankind, we are seeing that in Humankind they are making in February they made a call for modders to start preparing to mod the game. So Humankind is going to come out with modding already present in the game, which is super cool. And I like this idea. I like this concept. It's not about trying to get them to, well, in most cases, it's not about trying to get modders to do your job for you. It's about giving modders the ability to start adding more stuff to the game that's more interesting than what you are capable of adding in. As a quick example, Humankind is really about like humans, evolving from, basically, Stone Age, up to modern day era. And that's cool. I love those kinds of games. I love that tech. I love that stuff. But modder can come in and add things like, vampires or fantasy elements or alien elements that the studio just doesn't have the time or the money for. And they just can't do that. But a modder can start that process, from the ground up. They can also start things like, giving it a Lord of the Rings vibe, right? Or a Star Wars vibe, something that you can't have in a game because you don't have that licensing for it. But a modder can do that, and a modder can create that from scratch and actually be able to like add that into the game, and poof, there you go. It's not officially supported, but it's there if you want it. So that's kind of cool, and that's something to look forward to. So yeah, yeah, I was really disappointed with Paradox's show today. Super disappointed. And again, just like so boring. Like I had to stand up and do a jumping jack here just to keep myself awake during one of their bits, because it was, and we complained about this in the indie showcase, it was just so dry. It's like, why do these people think that, high monotone voice, hello everybody, thank you for joining today. Sorry, are you running a jazz music radio channel, or are you talking about video games?
So you did one jumping jack?
No, I did several jumping jacks. What?
You said a jumping jack, so I thought that was entertaining. We actually have something. Something is starting up on the mixed channel here again.
This is a post show for Saturday, so I expect more talking and talking.
More talking and not much showing.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure this is just going to go straight into talking. Yeah, they're going straight into talking and talking.
These two look like they look like hosts from like some youth TV channel or something. Like remember YTV?
Kid shows, yes. The hosts, those in between show hosts.
The in between show people, yeah.
Yeah.
Polly's just randomly sent me a bunch of news stories on Discord. So let's take a look here. So Little Big Planet servers got taken down by a DDoS attack. Let's see here. It became the target of DDoS attacks, and now its servers have been shut down. The award-winning series featuring Sackboy has a triumphant history, blah, 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 blah. So this is all history of the game. So the beloved series was the target of a DDoS attack, leaving Sony with no choice but to shut down the servers. So, I mean, they should be back eventually, but that sucks. The God of War studio is staffing up for a new unannounced project. SIE Santa Monica, searching for a lead writer to join the group for an unannounced project.
Yeah, that means that they are a ways away from that project. That is like early development.
So the other project, so this is separate from their sequel to the 2018's God of War. So
yeah, they probably have a sequel coming for that, I would imagine.
Well, that's what it says here anyway, according to Screen Rant. They are working on a sequel. It lacks an official title, but fans and media are calling it God of War Ragnarok, although that's not an official title. But then it sounds like
that's been in the rumor fields for quite a while now.
Yeah, but it sounds like this is for yet another project coming even later. So
yes, this would be their game after their next God of War game.
So, and then it says here, Blizzard is developing an unannounced multiplayer game, and it sounds ambitious.
Yeah, so I've been hearing rumors about this for a while, and you got to remember that 80% of projects after hitting a 2-year development date at Blizzard are canceled. So the likelihood that we will see this game hit the light of day is about 20%. Actually, because it's before the 2-year mark right now, I would say that that's about a 5% chance. So don't hold your breath on that one. I can't reiterate this enough. Blizzard doesn't release the majority of what they develop. It's shocking. They have dozens of projects that are in development at any given time, and you never hear about almost all of them. So I would not hold my breath for this. It is highly unlikely to come out with any actual. It's highly unlikely to come out. Period. It's highly unlikely to come out. It's sure it would be great to hear about, and yes, I'm sure this would be cool. But again, this is Blizzard we're talking about, and their last game that they tried to like shove out the door, the last remake that they tried to shove out the door, was an unmitigated disaster. And the last new IP they had was Overwatch, and the last new IP that they had before that was StarCraft. So we're talking about a studio that comes up with a new IP once every 20 years and has next to zero capability of getting a developed project for 2+ years out to the public in most cases. So don't hold your breath.
So we're just looking at the mixed stream. They're featuring. Did they show this game earlier, or is this something new?
I don't recognize this game. This looks new, and it looks absolutely adorable. I really like the looks of it.
It looks very cool, and it looks like it's got some sort of time shifting or time windowing effect going on. Chris Tales.
It's coming out to everything, so that's kind of interesting. Looked like a turn-based tactical type thing, right? It looked interesting. Like I said, I regret having focused on the Paradox one when there were so many more interesting games in the which wasn't. I mean, there wasn't a lot of interest. There wasn't an overabundance of interesting games in the indie showcase. There was just more than what Paradox had to offer. Paradox had nothing.
Yeah, like the mix one was hit and miss, but
yeah, lots of hit and miss.
Technically, but at least they were showing. I'll just say, at least they were showing games, and they like what they're doing right now. They showed the game, make us ask questions about it, and then they talk to the dev while showing us more game stuff. Like, this is the format. This is what Paradox should have done, and they should have done it better because they have a higher budget. Like, there's no excuse for how boring that presser was.
Yeah, if you have nothing to show, you put out a trailer on your YouTube channel, and then that's it. If you have 10 minutes of one person talking, you are doing it wrong. Like 10 minutes of one person talking to a camera without any footage, without anything new, talking about how you have a big event coming up soon. That's something to that's nothing. I really like the style. I'm going to turn this up a little bit.
Yeah, this looks.
So they're talking about the game right now,
but we're seeing it while they're talking. Like, what a concept! What a concept!
So this is a very simple battler. It's kind of, they've got some really cool mechanics there for choosing your turn-based strategy slash. It reminds me of like a JRPG. Oh, I like that shield. Look at that. That shield breaks apart into a blade. Oh, that's so cool.
The three elements of time at the same time on the same screen, kind of how you see it in my background. So you can see past, present, and future at the same time.
Yeah, I like that. Whoosh, whoosh. There we go. Yeah, that's pretty darn cool. I like that. Yeah, cool.
Players and the baddies.
I can't figure out when that battle screen comes up. I can't figure out if that girl is standing with one foot on the ground and then another foot up somewhere, or I don't quite get that.
Maybe her sweater's kind of like melding it all together.
This is some cool looking characters in this. Like, look at this.
These designs, like,
amalgamation of something.
They're all very distinct and like, oh my gosh.
Context on it.
So
the volcano gals. Oh, look at that.
I like the dialogue. One of the girls is named Volcano.
That also felt really familiar. So we came up with the idea of, among the three of us.
Is he doing anything against that? Did they just like smooch each other?
Of course, why not? You know, it's two horned ladies. They've got to, you know.
It was like a genre that
Yes.
we all enjoyed. Like my favorite game of all time is Final Fantasy VI.
So, all right, well, very cool. So this will carry on for a bit here, and then there's more coming tomorrow. We don't have any more live coverage planned, but we will likely, if anything really interesting comes up, we'll talk about it on the midweek podcast for sure, for certain. If anything really amazing is announced, you'll probably see some sort of a video from us.
We'll pop this up tomorrow morning in the Discord. So join us tomorrow morning. We'll cover we'll just kind of sit there and stream and watch it in the Discord. See if there's anything interesting. There's been a handful of games that have looked really, really interesting. What's the name of this one again? I want to see if it's
Chris Tales.
Tales, and they have a demo.
Was it Chris or Crisis?
Chris. It's CRIS.
Oh, there we go.
TALE.
I was thinking it was Crisis, but it's Chris Tales without an H. So they do have a demo available. So
I totally
do you want to play this in the Discord?
Totally, yes.
All right, so let's do. So anybody's listening, Moon's gonna pop this demo up. She's gonna get this downloaded, and we're gonna give it a go in the Discord. So if y'all want to jump in the Discord, we'll have a little bit of game time today. So yeah, cool beans.
Fantastic. And for those of you who are still listening live, please do slam that like button if you haven't yet. We really appreciate that. Subscribe for all of our upcoming content. So that's it for us for right now. My name is Ash, and on behalf of Sybe and Moontag, thank you all so much for checking us out today and joining. Stay tuned for lots more awesome gaming content, and we will talk to you later.